Okay, I'm gonna create a new project and I'm gonna make that in 6.2. The reason why was when I was testing it on 6.3, the VR codes was not working. So let's just use 6.2. And then let's use Universal 3D pipeline. Instead of the 3D built-in, what we're gonna use is this one. Okay? I'll call this as VR tutorial 6.2 June 24. And let's create a new project. Okay, so while we're creating a new project, so while this is loading, the reason why we're using 6.2, or sorry, you're using the universal render pipeline because coming 6.5, let me just open that. Hold on. Uh-huh. Okay. Coming 6.5, so by Unity 6.5, the built-in render pipeline will be deprecated. Okay, that's the reason why we are using the universal render pipeline or the URP. But it's okay because the URP has better graphics. Okay, so I'll just pause this video while Unity is loading. So this is what's new in the URP template. Number one, if you look at the directional light, instead of the common properties, basically it's changed to the temperature of the sun. So if you would see, if you have a scene here and then you rotate the sun, technically the sky will change. Okay, so for example, and so on. There, okay, you could change the color of the sun based on the temperature. Another thing that would change is if you create a new material, um, create material, what would happen is instead of the albedo, you have the base map. So that's the only difference as well as it has higher graphics. Okay, so number one, we just have to make sure that we're using the new input controls. So edit, project settings, and then under player, just make sure that we're using the new input system controls. Okay, so that was in the first tutorial, the part A tutorial that I sent you. Next, since we're gonna build this for VR, go to File, Build Profiles, and they're under MetaQuest. Okay, select MetaQuest. You might have to enable this one. Okay, if this doesn't appear, just click Enable, then switch Platform. Then click install. Okay, so as much as possible, you have to do this before there's anything on your scene because if there's something on your scene, then switching it to the platform might take a while. So do this, switch the platform immediately before you add some 3D environment in your scene so that the switching of the platform will be shorter. Okay, so I'll just pause this while this is switching. Okay, so we're now on the MetaQuest platform. As you can see, instead of switch platform, you already have built and build and done. Run device, it's just default device right now. So next, we have to install the plugin for the VR or XR controls. So just go to Edit, Project Settings, and then under XR plugin management. If it's not yet installed, you would see here install, okay? Or you could go to window and then that would be under package management, package manager, and then look for the XR in plugin management. Just click install. Okay, but I think that happened automatically when we built the platform to MetaQuest. They already installed the XR plugin management. But if it's not installed, you would see a button here called install XR plugin management. Just install that. Then go to window, package manager, and install the XR plugin management. Okay, so you would see that here under Unity registry and then install the XR plugin management. Okay, so if that's not yet installed. Next, once you have installed the XR plugin management, under the Windows tab and Linux tab, just click Open XR. Okay, for both of the Windows and Android tab, click Open XR. Okay, so with that, okay, so upon installing the XR plugin management, the reason why we click Open XR because we want our um, VR project to be compatible with all XR devices. Okay. However, since we're using Oculus, okay, go to Open XR here, and then okay, go to Open XR, and then the interaction profiles, you have to say that what I want to use is the um, Oculus Touch profile. So Oculus Touch controller profile, that's the device I'm using right now. But if you would see, you could use any headset profile that you want. But since in school we're using the Oculus Touch, just select Oculus Touch. Okay? So that's good. Okay, let's enable the plugin. Next, we have to install the XR Interaction Toolkit. So XR Interaction Toolkit. Right, so we have to install this. So Window, Package Manager, and XR Interaction Toolkit, install this one. So why do we install this one? This one already has some preset codes, okay, for moving in the environment as well as grabbing objects. Okay, so here the reason why we install this so that we don't do any more complicated codes. It's just drag and drop in the component to make our um, VR object move, air, and grab. Okay, so that is installed. Next, what we have to do here is to convert the main camera, okay, or to create an XR Origin VR. So, so since we're gonna delete the main camera, and what we're going to do is we're going to create now an XR Origin VR. So technically, this is our first person controller. All right. So technically, this is the view that I want. If you would see here, you have the main camera, but since this is our body, we need to have um, what we need to have the what they call this. You need to have the left hand. So right click, create empty, sorry, camera offset, create empty, it should be under the camera offset. Let's call that as left controller. And then let's also add a right controller. So under camera offset, right click, create empty, right controller. So with that, on the left controller, since these are just empty, but we want this one to follow the movement of the hand movement of our Oculus Touch device. Okay, so the Oculus Touch device is technically this one. This one. So this is our Oculus Touch. You hold this with your left and right hand. So technically, we want our hand to follow the movement of this one in VR environment. So in the left controller, just type in track driver input system. Okay. And then for the position input, we add the binding. So if you watch the first tutorial, the first coding, then you'll understand this one. Okay, so XR controller, this is the left hand, then device position. We'll do the same thing for rotation input, add binding, and then where's that? XR controller, left hand, device rotation. Okay, so this is easier to understand if you watch the first video or playlist on the input system. Okay, so I advise you to watch that one so you'll be able to understand what I'm doing here. So this is good for the left hand. So I'll do the same thing for the right controller. Add component, track, post driver input system. Let's add the binding, path, XR controller, right hand, device position. For the rotation, add binding, path, XR controller, right hand, device rotation. Then for the tracking state, path would be XR controller, right hand, tracking state. So, oops, just double checking it. Good. Right controller, position, right hand. Okay, good. All right. But with that, we also need to have an object that would signify which is our left hand and right hand. So under the left controller, I'll just create a cube. And this would be my left hand. So I'll make this 2 by 3. Just to make sure that my left hand would be where I want it to be. There we go. Okay, let's call this as left hand cube. And then, just for me to differentiate, I'll create a new material for this one. I'll just use this. And then, let's make that red. I'll do the same thing for the right hand. Okay. So I'm going to create a cube for that one. Right click, 3D object, cube. This would be my right hand cube. Place it here. There we go. So take note, one square here is 1 meter by 1 meter, okay? That's my left hand. For the new material, just make that blue, okay? Then let's create, for example, an environment. Just probably, I'll just have a big building here. Okay, this would be my environment. Okay. Lastly, before I end, under the interaction toolkit, so package manager, what I forgot to tell you is under the extra interaction toolkit, you just have to install the starter assets. Okay, so the codes are already here for the starter assets. All right. So once it's installed, I'll see you in the next video. In the next video, we're gonna connect now the Oculus and the Meta Horizon app and Unity all together. Okay.